Bríd in London. And Toni, where are you?
I'm in Venice Beach, California.
Wow, okay. And we spoke a few days ago, a week ago, I don't know how long ago, and decided how useful it would be if we had a webinar to help people understand a little bit more about Healy, because it's soon going to be available in the US and Australia, and that is so exciting. So I'm here to present to you information that I think you would benefit from having, and to answer questions. I'm really hoping that if I go quickly enough through the presentation that I've got ready, that there will be opportunity at the end for you guys to ask me questions. So who I am is a homeopath, actually, by training. 12 years ago, I qualified as a homeopath, and 6 years ago, I heard about the Timewaver devices, Timewaver Med and Timewaver Frequency. And I bought both, and I've been working with them ever since. Healy, as you know, was released in 2017, but went on the global market in 2019, a year ago. So I want to explain a little bit about the relationship, first of all, between Healy and its family of devices, Timewaver Med and Timewaver Frequency. So I am the kind of person who likes both detail and the bigger picture. I'm a Virgo with full moon in Pisces. So before I can be interested in the detail, I have to know the context, the bigger picture, the why. Why are we doing what we're doing? So I want to introduce you to the man who created Timewaver and Healy, Markus Schmiecke, a German-born quantum physicist, who's one of his books, the only one I know of that's in English, although he's written 4 or 5 books about the information field. The others are in German. He's also written many books about Vedic Feng Shui, Vastu. Here's the title of a book that you might be interested in reading to find out more about his life, and a magazine that he's written in English about radionics and quantum medicine. So where I want to go from there is to say a little bit about what is information field analysis. Because when you use a Healy is doing 2 things. It's delivering frequencies to your body via microcurrent, but it's also analyzing moment by moment by moment. In fact, well, every 10 seconds, it's analyzing which frequency you need next and how long you need each frequency for. And that analysis is done in the information field. So I want to explain a little bit about what the information field is. This type of analysis and this type of use of information field technology is unique, actually, to Healy as a small wearable device. Other frequency devices have got preset programs which give everybody the same frequencies for the same amount of time. There's no individual measurement. But with a Healy and Timewaver frequency, there is individual measurement constantly throughout the treatment. So let's just look at what is this information field. I want to show you a very lovely timeline. This timeline. I hope that it's big enough. I can make it slightly bigger. Okay, too big. Right. So this is a timeline which Markus created to detail the development of understanding in quantum physics and psychology and biology in the past century. Starting with Freud and Einstein in the early 1900s, Wolfgang Pauli, who worked with Freud, closely with Freud, studying the relationship between consciousness and matter, especially the phenomenon of synchronicity. Marcus was 18 in 1984 when he began his studies of quantum physics. Rupert Sheldrake, an English biophysicist from Oxford, he has written many books on the morphogenic field, which is his term for the information field. So you can see I'm not going into a lot of detail here, but I will send any of you who want this document, I'll send it to you as a document. It's not available online. It's not published online. Okay. So how to summarize what Marcus did. Let me just bring you to another reference here. Marcus worked with a physicist called Burkhard Heim. And Burkhard Heim was a mathematician mainly. He was the first to mathematically prove the existence of 12 dimensions of consciousness. And Marcus was absolutely fascinated by this and studied it very, very deeply, and was very excited to see that we can represent consciousness and matter in this kind of description. And from his understanding and work with Heim and his work with two people who created what's called the Korolev mirror. Korolev was a Russian scientist. This mirror was a way of accessing higher dimensions, consciousness, basically. Marcus found a way to incorporate a Korolev mirror into his device, into his Timewaver device. So each Timewaver device, both Timewaver Med, Timewaver Frequency, and Healy, has got two very small units inside which connect with the dimensions 5 and 6, which are just off the body. They're the energetic control level, it's called, relating though to the physical body, relating to matter. So this is what is termed bioenergetics. So one of the mechanisms inside of your Healy does an analysis on that level, just beyond the physical. And the other processor inside your Healy does an analysis in the higher field, the levels 7 and 8, the consciousness level. And those two processors are then giving feedback to the Healy to determine what frequencies you need. So this is quite unique in a device of its size. This has been present for 15 years in the bigger Timewaver devices. But the excitement when Marcus discovered that it could be made that small, meaning that millions of people around the world could benefit from having the Healy. And I just want to go back a little bit and say about Marcus that he was a monk for many years in India, and his commitment was to find a way to help people to live a healthy and happy life so that they could remember who they are. So the point of Healy ultimately is to bring people to a level of health that they're able to fulfill what they came here for. And knowing who you are is a prerequisite to being able to fulfill your mission. And health is a prerequisite to that, on that journey of fulfilling your mission. So that's why Healy was produced, and that's why Healy is being sold around the world. What else? Let me just see where I wanted to go next. Okay. Right, yes, enough. I think we have covered that. Now, I want to go from that level, from the information field level, I want to come down now into the physical treatment. What happens in the body when you receive microcurrent carrying particular frequencies. Nuno Nina works with Marcus. Nuno Nina had already, when he met Marcus, Nuno Nina had discovered many thousands of frequencies which he was delivering to patients via microcurrent. But he was using his special skill, an innate skill that he was born with, which was very lucky and not many people have it, of being able to look at a person and know what is wrong with them, why that's wrong, and what frequencies they need to help them. Not everybody has that ability. So when he met Marcus and discovered that Marcus had developed the technology to reach into the higher dimensions to find that information with each client individually, the two realized it's obvious they should work together. So since 12 years, 15 years now, I think they've worked together. So what Nuno Nino says is that people become ill for two reasons combined. They become ill because on the mental or emotional level, there is stress or there is unresolved trauma. And on the physical level, how that translates on the physical level is that the cell potential becomes disrupted. So the cells and organs are not working efficiently. So this diagram here, I will try to make it a little bit bigger. So, but you've seen this. This is in your Healy manual. It's not helpful. Okay. But from this diagram, you can see that a healthy cell has a cell voltage, a cell potential of -70 to -50 millivolts. With that cell potential, there is optimum movement of ions across the cell membrane. There's optimum communication between the cell and the intercellular space, both around the cell and then the whole organ as a whole. All of the cells have this voltage potential, then the organ works efficiently. But what happens, unfortunately, as people become sick, either through stress or lifestyle, unhealthy lifestyle, or inherited genetical reasons, what happens is that the cell potential falls. The voltage potential across the cell membrane begins to fall. When it falls to -40, pain is experienced, inflammation. As it falls further and further and further, the cell division is actually disrupted. And eventually a cell which has no voltage potential at all dies. So Nuno Nina saw that immediately the most important thing to do for a person is to get their cell potential back up to -50 to -70 millivolts. And that is what microcurrent does. So the other the other aspect of this is that when you apply microcurrent, it increases the ATP production in a cell. So ATP is the energy molecule produced in the mitochondria of the cells. With that extra energy, ATP is the energy molecule, with that extra energy, the cell is then able to produce the essential proteins that it needs to produce to function healthily. So the benefits of microcurrent are very well documented. At the very last slide here, I think, or no, I'll just show you, because some people don't read the Healy manual and therefore don't notice how much research there has been into the use of microcurrent. So in the manual of Healy, the studies that are cited are the ones which Healy, Timewaver, produced in order to be certified as a medical device in Europe. And these studies, just quickly go through them here. So lots of studies on the reduction of pain through biofeedback and electromedicine, through cranial stimulation for chronic pain, cranial electrical stimulation. We'll see in a few moments which programs in Healy use that form of treatment. Lots and lots and lots of studies here showing the effectiveness of microcurrent stimulation. Okay, I checked carefully, and one study that is listed here is quite a well-known one by Cheng and his colleagues in 1982. He showed that if you apply microcurrent up to 500 milliamperes, you get a 500% increase in ATP production in the cells of that organ. Okay, where do I want to go next? I hope I'm going slowly enough for everybody to follow and quickly enough to get on to everything that I want to cover. Okay, so we now, I think we are ready to go and look at Timewaver Frequency, because that's the therapist device which we all had before Timewaver Healy came into being. So I'm going to share with you my screen as I am and go into Timewaver Frequency software. Here we are, Timewaver Frequency. So what I want to show you first of all is the databases in Timewaver Frequency. I haven't mentioned really much about frequencies. The fact that the microcurrent that is being delivered to your body when you use Healy is carrying very specific frequencies. So these frequencies are being determined moment by moment by analysis, as I said earlier. So where do we get these frequencies from? Nuno Nina shared with Timewaver his 144, I think, but all here there's 139,000 gold frequencies for all of these various conditions. For example, for abdominal pain, there are 52 different frequencies. There they are, just as an example. So we go down this list, and there are so many. I have to go quickly because just to give you a real taste of what's in the database. And that database is available in your Healy. Not for you to see, but for an information field analysis to use to determine which frequencies you need. Okay. The next thing that's really important for me to show you is what is an automation. Because an automation is what you receive when you work with a Healy. Let me just see if I can. Yeah. Okay. So an automation. Let me see if I can find one, a good one to show you. Yeah. Good. An automation has got 3 stages. Here, I want to show you this one, increased efficiency in sport. This was developed by Nunanina. So it has 3 stages, a real-time stage, a resonance stage, and an indication stage. In the real-time stage, and I'm going to click play here so that you can see what happens. This happens on your Healy. When you have a Healy, it's really useful. You know what I'm talking about. In the beginning of every treatment with a Healy, something like this happens. The analysis determines which frequency you need, and it gives you that frequency for 10 seconds. And after 10 seconds, it switches to the next frequency that you need and gives you that. And then to the next, and it doesn't repeat any of them. It just gives you one for 10 seconds. And it does that for a total time, in this case, of 3 minutes. 3 minutes. And that stage is repeated again and again at different ranges of frequencies. The second stage of a treatment with Healy is called a resonance stage. And with this, you do get the same frequencies over and over until you've had enough of those frequencies. So let me just show you how this works. We'll go straight into the resonance stage. An analysis determines that the most relevant 3 frequencies for you right now, generally, for me actually in this case, are these 3. And it even, because I have the Timewaver frequency software, I can see what the frequencies are. I'm getting each of them for 10 minutes. It can also show me how relevant they are to me. They're all in high numbers, high 90s relevance, these frequencies. And it's going to, in this stage of the treatment, it's going to give me each of these frequencies until the progress reaches 95%. And then it will stop giving them to me. So it's checking. Before it comes round to the same frequency again, it's going to check, do I still need that frequency? If I don't, what happens here I can see is it becomes unticked and it goes yellow and it's no longer given to me. So that happens during the resonance phase of a treatment. And you, on your phone, you would see progress. And that progress is what I'm talking about here, this progress. See there, one of them has gone to minus 100. It means I really, really, really do need that right now, in this present moment. So hopefully in the given time, in this case 25 minutes, all of these 3 will go to, there one has gone to 100%. Hopefully in the 25 minutes they will all go to 100%. I'll just show you how that became unticked, so I no longer need that frequency. For those who are interested in the mechanics of microcurrent, the waveform that's used in Healy is a rectangular waveform. The amplitude is 5 volts for the lower frequencies. These here, I think it's below 1000 hertz, 5 volts. All right. And for the higher frequencies, we use 9 volts. It's a sweeping, no sweeping. It's too complicated to explain that. Okay, 10 seconds each. Okay, that's enough. Now the interesting bit. the indications. So this is where the analysis is confined to frequencies within a very specific range according to symptom. So depending on which particular program you are running, in this case, sport one, increased efficiency. I'm just going to show you what this is going to analyze. It's going to analyze for frequencies relating to hypoxia, low oxygen levels in the blood, because people who can manage to have high oxygen levels can run faster and longer. They have more stamina. And it's also going to analyze for frequencies relating to heart function, optimize heart function. It's going to take the top 4 of those frequencies and run them for 27 minutes. This particular program is going to run them for 27 minutes. Or until the body has become saturated with those frequencies, in which case it will stop, and it will take less than 27 minutes duration. So this answers the question, how come Healy programs say that they're going to take 60 minutes, but they only take 52 minutes? It's because in this stage, the indication stage and the resonance stage, you may not need the full time that's given to have enough of these frequencies. So I'm going to run this for you so you can see what the analysis does. Quick analysis of those. It's done. It's determined that I need 1 for hypoxia and 3 for heart tonic. And by the way, I never get worried when I see any results on here. I just trust that, yeah, I need these frequencies right now. Thank you. I take them with gratitude, and they'll do me good. So here, they're the relevancies, and the progress changes as it goes, as it gives me each frequency. Okay, I hope that's made something clear about how a Healy program moves through the different stages, and the fact that you're not just getting frequencies. Number 1, you're getting frequencies from a huge database. And number 2, you're getting frequencies after an analysis has been performed to determine whether and which frequencies you need. And that's monitored all the time. So this makes the Healy very different to, say, a PEMF device, which emits pulses, electromagnetic pulses, creates a field, but the frequencies used are very few in number and are the same for everybody. So it isn't an individual treatment. It's based on symptoms, yes, but it's not based on that particular person's field or analysis. Okay. Before I leave this, no, I think I'll come back to it later. Okay. So, I have talked about this now. Timewaver Frequency Therapist programs. Oh, okay. I am ready to do this now. So if you have a Healy already, you will be aware that there is a page on your Healy called Therapist Programs. And there are 12 spaces in there, empty initially. And those 12 spaces can be filled with individual programs that have been created by a Timewaver Frequency Therapist for you specifically on request. I want to say something about the scope and limitations of this. The scope for it is fantastic in the sense that it allows Timewaver Frequency Therapists to deliver more for their clients than they could previously do, because clients don't have to now come so often to the clinic. If they have a Healy, the program that they had applied in the time they spent at the clinic can be transferred onto their Healy, and then they can run it far more frequently for themselves at home. So it makes them much more independent. The limitations, I just wanted to say a little bit about this at this point of the Timewaver Frequency Therapist programs, is that the therapist, the frequency therapist, has a responsibility to monitor and still take care of that client regularly and carefully. So any clients that I send Healy programs to, I ask them to give me feedback on how they experience those programs, whether they're helpful or not. And I give them a lot of advice initially as to how often to use the programs and what precautionary measures and other health activities they should be doing while they're using a Healy. Okay, I'll say a little bit more about that later. So I'll show you now how I send a program to a Healy. I create the program inside of an automation. So I'll show you one that I have created. Calcium balance. Did I create this? Yes, I had somebody who has, I have a client who has bone spurs. So she has calcium being deposited in areas of the spine that make it very uncomfortable. So I created this automation for her. And in the indications section, what I did was include frequencies from the gold frequencies section of Nunanina for calcifications and for calcium metabolism, to normalize calcium metabolism. And I asked for the analysis to find the 8 most relevant frequencies for her every time she uses it, and give her those for a total of 20 minutes or less, if necessary. And then I go to the Healy section of the software, and I ask her to switch on her Healy. Obviously, with the app on her phone, she goes into menu and she finds the therapist TAN, reads out the therapist TAN, which changes, by the way, every half hour or so. She reads out the therapist TAN. I type it in and then I click OK. It's not going to work right now because this person is not connected. But when they are connected, I get an OK here, and means I have got access to that person's section of the medical cloud, the Timewaver medical cloud. And I'm able to upload this program for her onto the medical cloud. And once I've done it, I can say to her now, check for updates with your Healy. Just go into settings, check for updates, and you'll be told there's a new program available. And once you download that, you see it then in your therapist programs page. Okay, so I hope that's clear. It's very straightforward and easy to do, but there's a responsibility on me to really spend time with the person and see what is it they need. Are there any other issues related to that particular problem that also need treating? It's important you can include all other aspects here. For example, I might consider adding, since, as I said earlier, Nunanina believes that if our issues are not purely related to our environment, or maybe an accident, the result of an accident, then there is almost always a relation with some emotional issue. So if I type in emotions, emotional, let me just see, let's take out the S. Okay, then I've got these 4 really, really useful sections of the database. Emotional ties to disease, gold frequencies and another database of healing frequencies, stabilization of emotional states, and clearing of emotional blocks and trauma. So inside each of these folders, there are many frequencies. So if I include those, they will also be analyzed and given to the client every time she uses it, analyzed newly each time she uses it. Okay, so let's continue. Good, we've done with that. Now, oh yes, so we're now getting into the Healy itself and the difference between systemic programs and local programs and the placement of electrodes. Burning topic of discussion that seems to be unclear for some people. So I'm just going to clarify it a little bit with a visit to the manual. Going up to page 14. No, this is good. We'll start. It was page 14. Okay. So, on a Healy Gold, you have got the gold frequencies. And by the way, I believe all Healys also have the other page called, it's eluding me now, I'll tell you in a moment what it is. But everyone with a Healy Gold has got the gold frequencies. And that page has 7 programs: pure, care, balance, being, energy, relax, and release. For all of those programs, you use the BE, the bracelet electrodes. All of those programs are what we call systemic programs. When you use the bracelet electrodes, the current flows through your nervous system, through the organs, the lungs, heart, digestive system, liver, all of those organs, kidneys, spleen, pancreas. So the wrist electrodes are a perfect way to apply those frequencies. In the manual, you can see there's an explanation of each of them. The name kind of is suggestive of what the program does for you. But the little bit more explanation is there. Now we come to pain and psyche. And it was on these programs that Healy based its medical approval application. So, chronic pain, the mode of application of the chronic pain program is cranial electrical stimulation. It and the migraine one, and in insomnia and depression and anxiety. And can I just say here, I have met a few people who have a version of Healy, which it doesn't say these names. Instead, it's in Roman numerals. It gives 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I think, yeah. So for any of you who have those Roman numerals, just refer here to page 15 of the manual, and you'll see if the little symbol or icon doesn't show you that number 2 is back pain, then this page will. So we have here a combination of cranial electrical stimulation application and MTC, which is microcurrent therapy. So if it's microcurrent therapy and it's local, back pain is local, jaw, tooth is local, joints are local, then you can use the adhesive electrodes. Those are the small, round, sticky electrodes which have the clip on them. 2 things about those. Number 1, you can look, when you need new ones, just check on Amazon. They're very easy to find. And you can also find ones that are slightly bigger, which is useful if you're treating back pain, for example. But the small ones are good, obviously, for the jaws. Second tip is you should buy a conductive gel. Conductive gel, it's available in any medical pharmacy. It will help hugely with the contact and the delivery of the current into the body. Because sometimes I have heard people say that when they use the small electrodes, the contact looks like it's not very good, or they don't feel it very well. Okay, so conductive gel helps that issue. Okay. Something else very important to say here is that if you are running any cranial electrical stimulation program, so that's using the ear electrodes, you will not get a white or a black indication telling you about the contact quality, because the CES programs cannot be measured for contact quality. And so because it's not measurable for those programs for some reason, it's shown as gray. So gray does not mean bad contact or good contact. It means not measurable contact. A better, in all cases, a better indication of the contact is that you feel something now and then. You're not going to feel something all the time, because nobody feels very high frequencies. They just sail into the body unnoticed. What people feel are the lower frequencies. The ones below 100 hertz, in my experience, is what people feel. And it's those that often show with a black symbol saying the contact is poor. So in that case, apply the gel and you'll see that black turns to white. Conductivity improves. Okay. I'm sure you have many, many questions at this point. Hopefully I'm going slowly enough and fast enough to give you time in a few moments to ask some questions. Somebody is not muted, will be muted. Okay, thank you. So I hope that's cleared up. Somebody did ask a question last week as to whether these programs where you're supposed to use the ear clip, could you just use the wrist electrodes for those? Well, I personally don't think that's ideal. Not ideal, but it's possibly okay. I mean, it's something that you could test.
Wow, this is like Conditionland.
Toni, dear, could you mute everybody? Everybody, could you mute yourselves, please? Somebody's just come on and needs to mute themselves. Thank you. Okay, so if you don't like the ear electrodes, use the sticky electrodes instead on the mastoid bone just behind the ear. Okay? Good. What else did I want to show you? So those are not systemic, these are local programs. The others are systemic. And how you know a program is systemic is because it has a little icon beside it on your screen. Beside it, I don't know how to describe that icon, but the vast majority have it, and others don't. And if I flick through these pages, I would find an example, but I'm not going to do that now. So systemic programs for the whole body use the wrist electrodes. They work fantastic. One more tip about wrist electrodes. As a Timewaver therapist, when I see clients, I don't use the wrist electrodes because I have two metal electrodes that the person holds in their hands. Why is that fantastic? Because the meridians points run through the hands, meridians for the whole body. All of the organs of the body are represented in points on the palms and fingers of the hands. So something you could experiment with is buying large sticky electrodes with a clip, which you can buy, and using those on the palms of the hands will give you an even better systemic treatment. But obviously not when you're washing dishes or doing certain things. It's not going to be effective or useful. Okay, so with 7 minutes to go, let me see a quick summary of the differences and similarities between Healy and FSM, rather between Timewaver frequency and frequency-specific microcurrent. So, shall I give you the backstory or shall I not give you the backstory? So, the lovely Carolyn McMakin, to whom we are all indebted so much for the teaching that she has given to hundreds and hundreds of practitioners around the world now in her frequency-specific microcurrent therapy. We are so indebted to her. Timewaver have been working with her since 2016 when they installed in the Timewaver frequency device a second current generator. Because the biggest difference between FSM and Healy is that Healy delivers a single frequency, a single electrical current. Frequency-specific microcurrent delivers two currents, two frequencies at the same time, one for the issue and one for the tissue. So they're always pairs of frequencies. So when you get trained in FSM, you get trained in what frequency pairs to use for each condition. The other difference is that when you are trained in frequency-specific microcurrent, you get protocols that are tried and tested and which you can alter, and people are altering them according to their experience and sharing them. And it is a growing body of knowledge. But at the same time, you determine beforehand which pairs of frequencies and for how long your client is going to receive them. You determine that, you decide that, you set up the protocol. With Healy, it is by information field analysis that the particular frequencies are determined, and the length of application is determined by information field analysis. So, yeah, that's the difference. In 2020, there will be a Mac Healy. So there will be a Healy that can deliver two currents, one for an issue, one for a tissue. So Timewaver have been working with Carolyn to develop this, and it is in the later stages of production now. So it's very, very exciting. But will look different and function differently to your Healy. So it will be a different device. Okay, your Healy will not be adaptable. But your Healy will still be fantastic for doing what it does. I want to finish with some tips and tricks to get the most out of your Healy. By the way, I am in love with Healy. I am so, so grateful to have a device that I can walk around with, take to bed, whatever I'm doing, I can do it with a Healy strapped to me. Whereas for all these years, I had to decide to sit down and have an hour-long treatment on my treatment couch, which, you know, I just don't get down to doing often enough. So when you're using your Healy, you really, really need to drink, I say, at least 1 liter of pure water in the healthy water in the morning, and half a liter in the afternoon. No, I'm going to change this. Not before and after. Sorry, I just took this from the manual. I'd say drink 3 liters of water a day when you're having frequency therapy. 3 liters a day. You need much more water than normal when you're having frequency treatments, because you will find that you get headaches and fogginess if you don't. Okay, if possible, release bioenergetic potential by earthing. So walking barefoot outside for at least 15 minutes. Very good idea. let the build-up of ions drain back into the soil. Exercise in fresh air to activate the energy flow. Natural and balanced nutrition is still really important. And then this here, mindful and conscious use of frequency programs, the power of intention. I really want to pause here and say this mindfully, that treat your Healy device as something sacred and something that is interacting with you, something that's helping not just to make you physically more healthy, but to grow spiritually, to increase your vibration. Because every time you use Healy, it is connecting with the higher dimensions. It's like praying, in my opinion. And the more I use it, the more I see that I develop spiritually. That's why I have Timewaver, by the way. I didn't tell you how I came to Timewaver, but I feel that these devices are set apart from any others that I've seen in the way that they speed up the growth of consciousness. And I believe Healy does that too. So when you use the programs, do it mindfully. Make it sacred. Don't treat it like just another gadget. Last week, I was tired one morning because my sleep pattern was way off kilter. And I decided to run the relax program, and I snuggled back into bed, and I woke up 4 hours later. That's never, ever, ever happened to me. 4 hours with such a still mind and body, like total stillness. With my hands on my heart, like I had healing while I was just automatically there. I absolutely believe that it was the relax program that I ran from the Healy Gold cycle that got me into that state and paved the way for a deep, deep healing, after which I felt one piece. I felt like all the different parts of me that were scattered across the globe had returned and I was centered and solid again. I absolutely believe that the program facilitated that. So when you have this respect for programs, then you know that you don't need to overdo it. You don't need to do 5-6 programs. You don't need to have them running constantly. Wow, that is exactly 11 o'clock, by the way, in the UK, nighttime. I do want to stop sharing for a moment, come out of this, do something to stop share, and then I'll just see. And Toni, I'm unmuting you. And I just want to see, Toni, if you... Hi, everybody, again. Hello. So, Toni, did you see any burning, interesting, important questions that we should answer?
Well, we have some good questions here in the chat. I think a number of them have a simple answer. One here that might be very interesting to expand on is the question of how did Nuno Nino develop his frequency protocol?
I'm sorry, I laughed while drinking when I heard that question. I wish I knew. And if anybody hears the answer, please tell me. I don't know, and my efforts to find the answer have failed to produce anything. Next question, please.
This is more of a technical question here. So when you have the negative percentage progress while you're running your Healy, it means you need that frequency. And when you hit almost 100, you don't need that frequency anymore. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Easy.
Yes.
We had a question here. around telomeres. Do you happen to know of anything in the database or around telomeres?
Not offhand. I could look, but not right now.
Yes.
Which reminds me, a lot of people have been asking about the coronavirus. Do we have frequencies for that? Yes, we have 71 frequencies for the coronavirus, is the answer.
Wow.
Okay.
That's
Thanks,
fantastic.
Nina. Okay, yes. Oh, I'm seeing some of the... Oh, thank you to everybody who said things. I really, really appreciate it. But just, okay. And we are videoing, we're recording this and we're saving it and we will share it with everybody and anybody who wants to have this information. Yes, Toni.
How is Healy related to the Rife frequencies?
Oh, the Rife frequencies themselves are contained in the Healy database. They're not, unfortunately, in the Healy as it is now. Did I say the Healy database? The Rife frequencies are contained within the Timewaver Frequency database. So when I create programs for people, I can include Rife frequencies, but they're not in the gold frequencies on which the Healy is based. Okay.
Excellent.
And yes, they're just different frequencies for the same symptoms. So we use everything. I use everything.
Okay.
What would happen if you run more than 3 programs? Well, I don't know. If you didn't drink enough water, you get a headache. Maybe, you know, diminishing returns? I don't know.
Okay, here's one. Do we have access to the corona frequencies now in the gold cycles, or would that be a special program?
Repeat that, please, dear. Do we have access to the corona frequencies now in the gold cycles? No, you don't. No, they're not included. You can imagine that wouldn't be something that would be in the gold cycle. No, I doubt it very much. No.
So that would be a specific program that they could get from Timewaver.
Yes, from a therapist. So they need to find a time with a therapist like me and work with that therapist and be in communication with that therapist about their health. It's, yeah, supported with the frequencies, but also supported with other advice.
Yes.
Okay. Is Healy still useful without having 2 channels? Absolutely, yes. Healy is useful even though it has only 1 channel. FSM is amazing, absolutely amazing. But Healy is amazing. Single frequencies are still amazing what they can do. So it's not one or the other. It's if you have both, wow, you're lucky. And at the moment, we cannot get enough FSM practitioners. And at the moment, if you want FSM, you have to go to a practitioner in person. So if we want everybody to be well, we're stuck. But with a Healy being sold around the world, then at least everybody gets access to microcurrent frequencies. Okay?
Okay. You know, are there opportunities for being trained to be a Timewaver therapist?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Speak to me. Absolutely. I know some already there. I put you in touch with them. And I have lots of clients in America too, by the way. But if you want a therapist, the frequency therapist, Timewaver frequency therapist doesn't have to be in the States, but there are some, and I will tell you who they are, the ones I know. Okay. Any support for stem cells? There are frequencies for stem cells, yes. Okay, we might have missed some questions, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do before I end the webinar. I'm just going back up so that we can later read these questions, okay? And then I come down and I capture the next set, which we will read later. And the next set, and we're nearly done. Yeah, that's it. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much, Toni.
Okay. Thank you. This has been very, very helpful. Very helpful. Yes.
It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure. I'm in my element when I'm meeting people and sharing information. It's like, wow, that's what I love doing. And we'll do this again. There'll be like a stage 2 with maybe going deeper into the aspects of everything we covered here and more. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Okay, one thing, a very good question is how will they be able to get the recording? You'll be able to get the recording from the person who invited you, and it will be posted in the Facebook Healy Frequency chat group. Okay.
Great question.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop the recording.